All right, so let's talk about Chainsaw Man. And a show. All right, so for me, right, I knew nothing of the manga. I just kept hearing about this Chainsaw Man thing, right? And through my Facebook feed, right? IGN in particular was promoting the show. Gave a glowing review for the series premiere now, and I think they
Right.
gave the whole season a 9 out of 10, right? The moment I see that, I was like, all right, I need to check this shit out, right? And then also too, Double Two, so they actually did a review of it as well, right? So, I was curious. I mean, Chainsaw Man, right? I mean, just that title alone, just sparks, curiosity, right? Now, the one show that I will compare this to in a sense, right, is well, is I mean, it's kind of obvious, right? One Punch Man.
Okay.
It's it,
Right.
in a sense it's like that, right? Where the title kind of tells you what the character is, and it kind of gives you a sense of what the show you're going to see is about, right? So yeah, One Punch Man is like, all right, well, okay, is a character who could deliver one punch. Well, all right, so this little
I
detour here,
it,
right?
it actually reminded me a little bit of Devilman Crybaby, like
Right, yes, yes, yes,
in terms
yeah,
of the hype. Yeah, where you have this weird name, and there's the name so silly and weird, so that'll pull you in, and then you realize, okay, that's a little more interesting and deeper than just over the top kind of shock value kind of name. No? That's what I
right,
feel like.
right.
It's one
And
of those. Yeah.
well, good thing you bring up that, cause yeah, this is exactly what Chainsaw Man is, right? But yeah, with
Right.
One Punch Man, it was I only saw like the first season years ago. I just always found it so
Right.
funny that when they reveal how he had that skill set, like
Yeah.
literally
It's
it
a
was just
right,
him
and it's a
training.
parody of anime. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It
It's a
was just him
parody show thing.
literally
Yeah.
training to do that one punch, and that's how he get. Because we all thinking like he had this superpower gift. It's like no, the man just treated that shit, right? That was hilarious to me, right? But yeah, how they poke fun at not just anime and shonen, but the superhero genre, right? How they did that, I thought it
Right.
was great, right? So yeah, the moment you hear Chainsaw Man, of course, you just taking blood, guts, you taking Sam Raimi, Evil Dead kind of shit, right?
Right.
That's what I was
Right.
thinking, right?
Right.
And then when
Right.
you see the character itself, especially the head, though, like the head is what catch me by surprise, right? Because
Exactly.
at first
Right.
you're just thinking, oh, it's just the chainsaw blades on his arms, okay. But no, the man's head is literally a chainsaw with like these spiked teeth and whatnot, right? So it's literally like the chainsaw body, or at least the part that you hold that is that is technically a head now, right? So when you see that, it's like, what the hell is this shit, right? But then when you see it play out, it's like, oh, okay, right? But yeah, in a nutshell, what it's about, right? So it's set in this alternate world, right? So,
Right. Yeah. I
um,
know the 90s play out differently. That's what I know
right,
about it. Yeah.
right. So the 90s play are different.
Yeah.
And you have these demons, they call devils, right? And they're born from human fears, right? There is one particular devil called the gun devil, right? And as you mentioned, 90s, well, he actually sprung up, well, they actually hinted, although it's kind of obvious, during September 11th. So at the moment when it
Right.
happened, right, that's when it sprung up, right? I thought that's a really like clever idea, right? Just you having
Horror.
these
Yeah.
weird beings more or
Terror.
less
Yeah.
off from human fears and terrors, right? So that was cool, right? So we are introduced to the character of Denji, right? The 16-year-old kid, right? And he has this depth that, well, pretty much he inherited from his dad, right? Because his dad just got caught up in some yakuza shit, right? So
Right. Right.
yeah, he has done a lot, and he actually says what he does in like the opening narration of the premiere. What he did, some like real grimy shit this man had to do, like some. And one particular um s- statement, I wouldn't say what it is, but when you hear it, you be like, ooh, like that's how far you going now, boy, right? And it's still not enough, right? So well, they actually show what happens or how he runs into this character, right? So
Right.
he runs into, well, he actually works with this devil, well, we call it the chainsaw devil, right? That is in the form of this dog, right? So it's a dog, this cute looking dog, but it just has a chainsaw blade sticking out of his head, right? Called Pochita, right? So it's the boy and his dog kind of vibe, right? So they have this bond, and they just kind of going about doing all these odd, well, basically it's not really so much odds and ends, but yeah, he does some devil killing, right? Some
Right.
devil hunting, because that's a thing in this show, right? You hunt devils, you get paid, right? And the money he makes, he just gives it to the yakuza, right? So through some circumstances, the yakuza boss is just like, you know what? I think we're done with you, so you just get rid of you, right? But what happens is that he ends up getting possessed by this other devil now, that has this ability that when he kills humans, they turn into zombies, right? So
Right.
he himself becomes a zombie, and he tries to kill. Well, he ends up. Well, I should say kills Denji, right? But what happened is that Denji and Pochita, through anime powers, I will call it, end up fusing together, right? So it's
Yeah,
like, well,
because
Pochita kind of
anime.
gives, yeah, because anime, right? That's what it is, right? It's like, all right, I'm dying. I need your sustenance, I guess, your
Right.
power. So he puts like literally puts Pochita inside of him, right? And that's when he's not just resurrected, he's like himself again. But yeah, he turns into the Chainsaw Man, right? And if you saw how, if you see the image, like online, yeah, they do it is right. And in that sequence alone, though, you see how much of a badass though Chainsaw Man is, like because
Yeah.
yeah, he is legit. And this is like one of the best tributes to evil that I've ever seen, boy. 'Cause, yeah, he is just slaughtering zombie after zombie after zombie, and it is glorious, and it is gory, and it is over the top, and your jaw will hit the floor, and you'll be smiling like I was, and you'll just be like your eyes will be bulging out your head, and you'll be in awe of what it is you're seeing, right? But then after what happens now, um, well, you have like these, official devil hunters. They pretty much, they are the public safety devil hunters, right? So it's like this public group, sorry, this government funded group now, right? And their job basically is to get rid of these devils, right? So
Right.
yeah, well, the leader, who is called Makima, she pretty much hires Denji now, so she kind of sees his worth in the way how he's just slaughtering all these zombies, right? I'd say here's what, right? You're gonna work for us. You're gonna help us out. You're gonna do all these jobs for us. It's either you stay where you are and we kill you, or we hire you and you just do jobs, right? And then in the process, he learns about the gun, about the gun devil, right? But in the process, he makes friends, well, allies in the group in the group as well. I should say in the team. And I should say majority of them have their own stories. They have their own little agendas or whatnot. He also meets a character by the name of Power, who is a fiend, right? So
Right.
what fiends are is that once if a devil could possess a human's dead body, right? So kind of like what Denji is, but not really. So it's kind of in a sense, yeah, those are fiends, right? And yeah, Power have her own little backstory as well too. Her skill set is pretty badass as well too, where she does like she could like more or less materialize blood and use it like create these mallets and pretty much just kind of smash your head with it. So that's
Yeah.
what she does. She's wild, she's crazy, what she uses and whatnot, right? But she's also like a lot of characters in this show, emotionally damaged as well too, right?
Yeah.
And just to jump into the review here, right? So what I was hoping for with this show is that it was not gonna just rely on the game on the gimmick of the show, right? Where it's this chainsaw guy who runs around chopping people's like slaughtering people and chopping them in half and stuff like that, right? Because honestly, even within the realms of anime and where you could get through it, you could only go so far with this, right? But
Yeah.
thankfully here, and it's a good thing that you bring up Devilman Crybaby, right? Yeah, it's like that, right? Where yeah, these characters are given not a lot of depth, but like a kind of a weird amount of depth though. Like you're actually like
Yeah.
shocked at how much characterization these characters get, right? And you kind of find yourself liking them and related to them in more ways than one, right? Even a guy like Denji, who more or less comes off like, well, he's not so much an asshole, right? But he's a 16-year-old. He is horny a lot. There's this
Right.
running subplot
I
involving
heard
him,
about this
why
with the
the
boobs
yeah, why
thing.
the grope boobs and whatnot.
Right.
But
Yeah, I saw this. Yeah.
yeah, and at first I was like, all right, like, well, like, is it 2020s? Why we doing this kind of juvenile shit? Like I know it's a shonen thing, having female characters with oversized boobs and whatnot,
Right.
but like in the context of which I don't want to spoil, right? The context of who he is, right? So without spoiling anything, is pretty much set up that he wants love, right? He's never been loved before and whatnot. So it's like, you know what? So he sees woman and is like, yeah, I want to be with you. So case in point, his boss, right, Makima. Like the moment he sees her, he just kind of falls for her, and the way how she kind of talks him in this kind of like soft and like subtle kind of, I would say, kind of bordering on sensual kind of way,
Right.
like you can't blame, and it's like it's a good thing that they established how old this guy is, right? You can't blame a guy for like him, but for being yes, I want to be with this girl, right?
Yeah.
But even like her herself, right, have her own little agenda as well too, right?
Well,
I can
it's
kind of
typical
tell.
typical animation. I mean,
Right,
that's
right, right.
yeah.
And it's one of those things you can kind of debate, but thankfully the show those don't latch onto it too much.
Right.
Yeah, well, Makima and to extend power, they kind of use Denji, for their own gain. So it's like, oh, right, he a horny guy, and he wanna fuck us or whatnot. All right, cool. Well, all right. Well, first off, before you do that, I want you to kill this devil first, right? So it's like that, right? And then usually when he tries to get to get through now, it's very Beavis and Butthead, right? He's always trying to score, but it always comes short. Like something always happens, and he always like it's always that warm kind of thing. Like, oh,
Right.
you this
Yeah.
close, man, but you don't make it, right? But that's not just but thankfully that's not all we get about Denji, right? You really do learn a lot more about who he is. There are a few things that are left that well, I should say left hidden, but stuff that are hinted, especially in the final episode, which I expect the second season, sorry, to explore more, right? But yeah, the characterization was shockingly good though. Like I didn't expect it, right? But I'm glad it's there, right? Because it adds a lot of texture to the show, right? And one thing I didn't expect with the show, it's rather emotionally driven though, right? So not saying you're gonna be crying at certain moments, but you'll be like, all right, I get what this character's mindset is. I get what motivates this character to do this and whatnot, right? Even if it's the wrong thing or morally, you kind of understand where these characters come from, right? Animation, I would say, is one of the best I have seen in anime in a long while, though, right? The studio behind this is Mappa. They actually work on stuff
Yeah. Well,
like
they notoriously overworked right now.
okay, well,
Yeah.
that actually explains it. So they work on stuff like Jujutsu Kaisen,
Tyson. Yeah. Yeah.
the final season of Attack on
Attack on
Titan,
Titan.
which I
Yeah.
have yet to
They
see.
well overworked, for
Yeah.
honest.
Remind me again, that show's still going on, right?
What?
It's done yet, right?
What's that?
The final season of Attack on Titan.
No, it didn't finish yet, but it should have finished by now. But
I, I, I know, boy.
they're watered down bullshit though. They overdoed it though.
Boy, like I
It's
want
all
to
right.
get back into that show so bad, boy, because yeah, we did cover
I think they, I think
we
it,
did talk about it early
I
on
think it's done now.
as in the manga, it's done.
Yeah, if I remember correctly. I ain't keep up with it because I just waited for the people to say final episode so I could finally catch up with it myself.
Yeah. I feel that gonna be me too, right? Yeah, but yeah, boy, Mappa just outdo themselves with this boy. The animation is superb across the board, boy. Whether it's just and they do some really cool as well too, where they incorporate I would say more like some 3D visuals here or there, but they make it look 2D, right? It's that kind of style, right? But it's done in an anime way, right? So when it comes to the creatures themselves, right, and the movements, if you look at the movements, it's very VFXy in a sense, right? Even Chainsaw Man, right? But it works in terms of just how the characters move and whatnot, right? Speaking of the creatures themselves, right? The creature design, boy. It's on point, boy. Leave it to the Japanese to continue to find ways to just take their culture and especially when it comes to like myth though, when it comes to demons and ghosts and whatnot, and just find ways to just make these trippy, weird AF characters. So you will see some weird characters in this show, boy. And like Chainsaw Man is just like just one of the well. When it comes to the other devils, boy, yeah, it's some of the most unique shit you'll see like in a long while, right? The action sequences though, FFG, sorry, they are amazing. Just well choreographed, well animated, well stylized. Yeah, just hyper stylized as hell though. But it totally works though. It ramps up in terms of the violence and the blood and gore and whatnot. But like like how I was describing myself when I saw that first confrontation with Chainsaw Man and the zombies, that was me actually through like nearly all of the action sequences, boy.
Right.
Just eyes wide, just bulging out, broad smile on my face. I just enjoying all this stuff, right? There's this one character by the name of Samurai Sword, right? So yeah, he is like the katana equivalent of Chainsaw Man, right? There's
Right.
a fight scene between the two on a train that is so badass, dude. Boy, I was like, and, I was just like, I was just in shock of just how badass it was. It was shocking to me how badass that fight scene was, especially how it ends, though. holy shit! I don't want to spoil anything beyond that, right? But yeah, what this show really excels at though is just these weird characters, right? Just that, well, especially when it comes to skill sets, they have some really unique and crazy powers, right? And one thing what the show also shines to is just the world that they create though. So even with all this weird shit that you're seeing, it fits. Like in an anime way, it absolutely fits with the world, it fits with the tone of it, and on the subject of tone, right? Also like the use of gallows humor in this though. Yeah, it's pretty dark in terms of the humor, very sardonic as well, but it totally fits. It just fits with the worldview of these characters, where the story is set, what the characters are about and whatnot. So yeah, when you see like just these weird characters just show up, and the type of fear that is being personified there though, it kind of makes sense, right? It works, right? And while it is pretty bleak in some points though, I do like the fact that they inject humor into it, right? And the humor for the most part works, right? It just kind of lessens the darkness of the show. You can lighten up, you can laugh at it as well too, and it works in terms of just building the characters and whatnot, right? But yeah, at the end of the day, I was thoroughly impressed by this show. I didn't know what to expect going into this boy, but I was impressed by what it is I saw. I saw this in Japanese. I heard a bit of the English dub in the trailer, so I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe if I recap it, I'll watch it in English. I wasn't really impressed by the English dub, but I guess when I recap it for when the next season comes around, I could more or less acclimatize myself to it, right? But yeah, this is just a great anime. I just talking in terms of just production, right, and execution. That's a great anime, true and true, man. Whether it's the writing, whether it's characterization, whether it's the creatures themselves, the character design, whatnot. This show excels, man. Right. And last I'll say before I get to read it. This show does something that honestly I don't think I've seen any anime ever did. They actually, well, all right. So this is like a 12 episode run, right? So outside of the opening theme song, right, which is catchy, right? That's all I'll say. It's a really catchy song. You when you see it, right, when you'll understand what I talk about. But every episode has a different end credit song
Okay.
and visuals to accompany it. Yeah, like I was surprised. Like I thought, like okay, we are gonna get like like the first half will be one song, second half will be another song. No, every single episode ends with a different song, a different visual aesthetic, right? And those aesthetics work though, whether it ranges from just trippy and batshit weird to kind of just woozy and hazy and kind of vaporwave-ish kind of vibe though. And
Yeah.
just kind of matches every song that they play, right? So you'll get your pop song, you'll get your metal. There's one song that kind of borders on like what we got with the second theme song, the iconic theme song for Death Note, if you remember that, you
Right.
get
Yeah.
something like that, but not as bashing your head over a wall on a wall, sorry, until your brains bleed, until you're bleeding, like how that theme song from Death Note was. But this particular theme song and closing sequence comes very close, man, right? But
Yeah.
I just love the variety that they brought to those. I will assume that Mappa worked on those closing sequences as well, though, and that is that like the outsource other studios to work on those, though. But just in terms of distinction and variety, well, yeah, this that would just how they pull that off though was excellent in my opinion, right? But yeah, I give the show enough praise before, enough, sorry. So yeah, rating wise, I'm gonna give this a strong 4 to 5, man. I absolutely enjoyed this. This impressed me from episode one to the last one. Um, as for gripes though, I just felt like just little minor gripes. I felt that they, you know, it, while I do like the tones, right? Like the tones that they stick with. Sometimes it could kind of shift kind of haphazardly at times. So like you might get this sort of like slice of life kind of coming of age kind of stuff, and then like when you least expect it, it will just switch into something dark or something really trippy or really like just weird for the sake of being weird, you know. So, but I wouldn't really chalk it up to inconsistency. It's just in terms of where the story goes, right? And that's one thing I like about this show here. You think you know where the story is going, but no boy, they will just hit you with some kind of like detour, ever so often, right? And then also too, I felt like, the final episode, or I should say the closing moments, kind of leave a little too much out there, man. Like I felt like we could have gotten a little bit more closure. It kind of leaves certain narrative threads out there. So it's like, all right, well, I never really the manga, so like I literally had to wait till this next season comes up for me to understand what's going on. I don't want to do that. I am patient, because that's really how like, because I just really can't wait to see more of the show, right? To the point that I can't wait for the open. I will not stand the open endings. I want to see what happens next, right? So
Right.
I know, lazy me. I guess I'll wait until the season 2 comes up, or I'll just read the manga and see what happens next, right? And I heard actually this show is very, very, very faithful to the manga, so that's great, right? So yeah, but yeah, Chainsaw Man is the real deal. Check it out. And yes, there's a lot of hype surrounding it. I would say it lives up to it. But thankfully, like I said earlier on, I'm glad that the show does not just rely on its already weird ass protagonist to drive the show, right? So don't go in expecting a lot of blood, a lot of guts and weirdness. But yeah, there will be blood, there will be guts, and there will be weirdness in this show, man. And I enjoyed, I would say a lot of what I got here in the show, man. So I can't wait to see what we get next with season 2. So yeah, Chainsaw Man is the real deal. You all need to check it out.
Okay, I'm actually quite surprised that you wanted to review this so late after it come out. So like, all right, you catch on. All right, no problem.
Yeah, well, now really, I just wanted to see it for myself. I know it wrapped up, I think last month, I think it was, but I
It's a
really
hot
wanted to see
minute.
it for
Yeah.
myself. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to Bleach, which we talked about earlier
Right.
this year, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I missed it by years, but that don't mean I don't want to see it, right? So yeah, and I'll say this much, so thank you, Bleach and Chainsaw Man, for getting me back into anime, man. So yeah, can't wait to see what a great release we get this year, man. Can't wait.
Okay.